Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to start our first chapter. Chapter 1 3 questions. So, in this chapter, we are going to learn about a king. He has three questions and he's seeking answers to them. What are the questions? Does the king get what he wants? That we will learn from this lesson. So, let's start the lesson. Three questions. The thought came to a certain king that he would never fail if he knew three things. These three things were: what is the right time to begin something? Which people should he listen to? What's the most important thing for him to do? So once a king thought, if the king knows answers to three questions or three things he knew very well, then he will never fail. What are the three things? He should know what is the right time to begin something. Then which people he should listen to. And what's the most important thing for him to do. If he knew these three things, then he will never fail. That he thought. The king therefore sent messengers throughout his kingdom, promising a large sum of money to anyone who would answer these three questions. Many wise men came to the king, but they all answered his questions differently. So the king sent many messengers throughout his kingdom, and he promised that if anyone give answers to these three questions, they will get a large sum of money. Then many wise men came to the king, but they all answered these questions differently. In reply to the first question, some said the king must prepare a timetable and then follow it strictly. Only in this way, they said, could he do everything at its proper time. Others said that it was impossible to decide in advance the right time for doing something. So some of the people said he should prepare a timetable and follow the timetable strictly. In this way, he could do everything at its proper time because the timetable is already there. Then others said that it's impossible to decide in advance the right time for doing something. Others said it's impossible. The king should notice all that was going on, avoid foolish pleasures, and always do whatever seemed necessary at that time. So some others said that the king should notice all the things what is going on there, and he should avoid foolish pleasures, happiness, and always do whatever seemed necessary at that time. So he should do what is necessary in that particular time, what is necessary, that only he must do. Yet others said that the king needed a council of wise men who would help him act at the proper time. Here, council means a group of people chosen to give advice or to make rules. So, some people said he should have a council of wise men and they will help him to act in the proper time. This was because one man would find it impossible to decide correctly without help from others the right time for every action. So the people said they needed the king must have a council of wise men because they said that one person, one man, it is very difficult for him to decide correctly, and he should get help from others to do the correct things on the correct time. But then others say that there were some things which could be urgent. These things could not wait for the decision of the council. In order to decide the right time for doing something, it is necessary to look into the future. And only magicians could do that. The king, therefore, would have to go to magicians. So, other people said some things, some actions needed to be do urgently. So sometimes it is they will not get time to wait for the council to get a decision to do something. So if it is an urgent action to do, they will not get time to contact the council and ask them. So in order to decide the right time for doing something, they said it is necessary to look into the future. That who can do, in their words, they said it is only magicians could do that. What? To look into the future. So what they said the king should have good magicians to know what is the right time to do the right things. In their answers to the second question, some said that the people most necessary to the king were his counselors. Counselors means the member of the council. Others said the priest. Second question was who are the persons he should meet. So they said it is counselors, some said that is priest. A few others chose their doctors. Some said that is counselors, some said it's priest, and a few others choose that it must be doctors. And yet others said that his soldiers were the most necessary. So the second question, whom he meet the most people, the necessary people. Somebody said it's counselors, some said it's priest, and some said it is doctors, and some said it is his soldiers. To the third question, some said science, others choose fighting, and yet others religious worship. As the answers to his questions were so different, the king was not satisfied and gave no reward. Instead, he decided to seek the advice of a certain hermit who was widely known for his wisdom. Hermit means a person who lives alone and leads a peaceful life. Okay. Hermit. You can see hermit. Hermit meaning is that a person who lives alone and leads a simple life. Okay. So what he thought? The questions what he asked, the answers for that questions many people answered, but most all the answers are different. So he didn't give any reward as he was not satisfied with the answers. So he decided to seek means to ask to get advice of a certain hermit. He wanted to meet a certain hermit, and he was widely known for his wisdom. The hermit lived in a wood which he never left. Here, wood means small forest. Wood here means a small forest. He saw no one but simple people, and so the king put on ordinary clothes. Remember, this hermit is a simple man. He lived in the forest. And remember that one, he meet only simple people. So what he did, the king put on to wear. Put on means to wear. Put on. Put on means to wear. To wear ordinary clothes. He wear ordinary clothes. Before he reached the hermit's hut, the king left his horse with his bodyguard and went on alone. So before he reached the hermit's hut, he left that horse with his bodyguard and he went on alone. He go alone. As the king came near the hermit's hut, he saw the hermit digging the ground in front of his hut. So the king came near. He saw the hermit was digging the ground. He wanted to plant something there. So he was digging the ground in front of his hut. He greeted the king and continued digging. Remember, he doesn't know who is that person, but even though he greeted, the hermit doesn't know it is king. So he greeted, even though he greeted that person, but and continued the digging. The hermit was old and weak, and as he worked, he breathed heavily. Remember, the hermit was old man and he was weak also. So and he was worked very hard, so he breathed heavily. The king went up to hermit and said, I have come to you, wise hermit, to ask you to answer three questions. How can I learn to do the right thing at the right time? Who are the people I need most? And what affairs are the most important? So the king came near to the hermit and asked the three questions. He said, I wanted to get the answers of these three questions, and he asked the three questions to the hermit. The hermit listened to the king but did not speak. He went on digging. Hermit listened to the questions but he didn't answer. And he started digging again. You are tired, said the king. Let me take the spade and walk in your place. So remember, affairs, what affairs are most important affairs. Here meaning is given there, things, matters or business. What are the things are the most important like that. Okay. So the king asked the hermit that, let me take your spade. Spade means the equipment that he is holding in his hand. Look, in this picture you can see the hermit was holding an equipment that is called spade. So he said, let me take the spade and walk in your place. Thanks, said the hermit, giving the king his spade. Then he sat down on the ground. So hermit sat down there and the king started digging the ground. When the king had dug two beds, beds means small patches of ground for plants, for planting the plants. He stopped and repeated his questions. The hermit gave no answer but stood up, stretching out his hand for the spade and said, now you rest and let me walk. So the king dug two beds and he stopped the work and repeated his questions. He wanted to get the answer of that questions. But what happened? The hermit gave no answer. He didn't reply, but he stood up and stretched his hand for the spade. And he said, okay, now you take rest and let me walk. But the king did not give him the spade and continued to dig. But the king didn't give the spade and he continued to dig. 1 hour passed, then another. The sun went down behind the trees, and at last the king struck the spade into the ground and said, I came to you, wise man, for an answer to my questions. If you can give me no answer, tell me so, and I will return home. Here comes someone running, said the hermit. So after 1 hour, the sun, after 1 hour passed, then another hour passed. So he was continuously walking. The hours are passed. And then the sun went down behind the trees. That is, it became evening. At last, the king stuck the spade into the ground and said, he put the spade into the ground and he asked the wise man again, dear wise man, I came to you for an answer to my questions. If you can give me no answer, tell me so. If you don't know the answer, you tell me so, then I will go home. I'm waiting for the answers. If you don't know the answers, you tell me that. Then I will return my home. But hermit didn't say anything. Instead, he pointed to that here comes someone running. Somebody is running and coming towards them. So hermit saw that one and he showed that to the king also. So we can check who is coming there, who is running and coming there, what happened to him, and whether the king get the answers of his questions, whether the hermit could answer the questions. These all things we can learn in our next class. So here some questions given there. Two questions are given there. Comprehension check. First question: why did the king want to know answers to three questions? Messengers were sent throughout the kingdom to fetch wise man to find answers to the questions, to look for the wise hermit, to announce a reward for those who could answer the questions. Mark your choice. So these two answers we have to find out. Then second part we will continue in the next class. So thank you for watching. Have a nice day. Take care. Bye.